This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Louie. Thank you for joining me. This is the NFL Draft Prospects 101, your guide to some of the biggest and the hottest names the 2015 NFL Draft. We're talking running backs, and this is a guy that he grew on me. I wasn't a huge Ameer Abdullah fan going into the process. I had heard some things about him that really rubbed me the wrong way. He goes to the combine. I'm thinking he's going to be a faster back. He runs a 4.6 40. I'm disappointed, but I put the tape on. There's a lot of good things here for Nebraska's Ameer Abdullah. Let's jump into his pros and talk about why this guy is going to be an impact player, potentially at the next level. Built powerfully. And this is a guy, I've talked about various backs and how I like upright backs. That's not everybody's cup of tea. And I don't have a problem with the smaller backs. The next two backs that we're going to talk about, smaller stature backs, but they bring something else to the table that the taller upright backs don't have. And so I like Ameer Abdullah, and I think the thing about him that struck me watching him was how powerfully built he was. Low center of gravity at about 5'8", 5'9", about 200 pounds. But his lower body, let's go ahead and go to that next pro. Outstanding balance. His lower body is like two tree trunks. Literally, this guy squats 570 pounds. And so his lower body is extremely powerful, which allows him to bounce off of defenders, run through and power through tacklers. You saw the McNeese State play. We've all seen it where he catches the football, makes the guy miss, runs through two more tacklers, gets up the field, scores a touchdown with about 20 seconds left as he takes Nebraska to a win where they almost were upset by McNeese State. I mean, you can't lose to McNeese State at home, and so that was a big play. And that's something that he did on a regular basis, running through tacklers and running guys over. And so I think you get sucked in because he's a guy that is extremely quick, and I'll talk about that here in a second. And you kind of get lulled to sleep because you want to tackle this guy, and he's a jitterbug, and he moves so fast, you forget that, damn, this guy will run me over if I'm not careful. And so he has outstanding balance, can bounce off the tacklers and keep his feet and continue to run, but he's built powerfully, and I think that is something that I really like. Reminds me of like a Maurice Jones-Drew in that sense. So, powerful because of his lower body and how strong he is. Ameer Abdullah is one of those guys that can surprise you with the amount of power that he runs with. Physical runner, and I basically just spoke to that pro, that this guy is just a physical nature runner, which is not what you expect from a guy that's 5'8", 5'9", 200 pounds. You're expecting this guy to be laterally quick, moving faster than the opponents, looking to get around guys, not necessarily going through them. He'll do a little bit of both, and so that's something that makes him a dynamic running back. Quicker than fast. I talked about his 40 time. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well, but he's quicker than fast. I mean, he's one of these guys that can move, and let's go to the next pro and lump these two together because I really want to talk about this one a lot because to me, this is one of his best character traits as a player. And so, elite change of direction. This is something that Ameer Abdullah excels at. And I think the reason why he's going to make one heck of a pro, and I'm going to tell you right now, the team that you do not want this guy to go to, and I think this is a perfect fit for him. And if they are thinking the way that I'm thinking, if you're the New England Patriots and you lose Shane Vereen, this guy to me is the perfect replacement for Shane Vereen, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But his change of direction, second to none in this draft. I mean, some of the moves he makes, he has a jump cut that is out of this world. I mean, the jump cut is out of bounds, literally out of bounds. I mean, the thing is so lightning fast, it's so quick that he was undressing guys, literally undressing guys out in the flats, in open space. It was not fair. There was a couple of times where he's out in space and I'm just like, come on, that's not right. Don't do that. Stop that, Ameer. That's not right. You know, you get a 245-pound linebacker out in space and he's breaking out and he thinks he's about to do something and Ameer gives him one of these jumps, cuts, and the linebacker just freezes and Ameer goes right by him and I'm like, man, that's criminal right there, man. You should be arrested for that. His change of direction is elite. It's something that he just excels at, something that makes him a viable back in this league. And I think that's something that is going to transform him into probably one of the better third down backs in the league once he gets his chance to get into the National Football League. And again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, if he lands in the right facility with the right coaching staff, with the right quarterback, this guy could be a lethal weapon. Two places in particular. You don't want him in the AFC to go to New England, and you don't want this guy to go to New Orleans in the NFC. He goes to either one of those spots, good luck. This guy is a nightmare. Excellent receiver. And to me, you can't be a great third down back if you can't catch, and this dude can catch the football with the best of them out of the backfield. To me, he might have the best set of hands of any running back in this draft. And again, haven't watched tape on everyone, so I can't make that assertion. But I feel pretty confident saying if you stack him up with the rest of the receivers in this draft, catching the football wise, you probably won't find many others that do it better than Ameer Abdullah in this draft. He flat out catches the football with his hands. It's clean, it's efficient. They split him out wide. They have him running wide receiver routes. I mean, he's running wheel routes up the sideline. He's running slants. He's running Z-outs. He's running all kinds of routes. He's catching the football. He's plucking it out of the air. There's one catch. I forget who the opponent is. They suck the defense up on play action fake. He's able to get behind the defense. The throw is high, and he has to use every inch of that 5'8", 5'9" frame to climb the ladder, pluck the football out of the air. Mind you, this is a bullet pass in the end zone, and he snatches it out of the air like he is a receiver. The guy can catch the football. Natural hands catcher. Love his ability to catch the football out of the backfield. And again, think he's going to have every opportunity to prove that he can get it done in this league in various spots. Out wide, in the slot, in the backfield. He's going to be a weapon for some team in this upcoming draft. And last but not least, extra added value on special teams. He's a guy that you can put on kickoff returns. He did it at Nebraska, returned a couple of kicks. You can see that in the USC Bowl game, that Holiday Bowl where he catches a couple of kickoffs. First kickoff of the game, I think is like 44 yards. Has another nice kickoff return later on in the game. He can give you some extra added value as a returner, so that's something else to throw into the repertoire for a guy like Ameer Abdullah. He does a lot of things that's going to endear him to whomever drafts him. There's a lot to like about Ameer Abdullah and what he brings to the table and his skill set that is going to set him apart from some of the other backs in this draft. You go to his cons now, and the first thing that jumped out at me in terms of things that he needed to improve upon is his size usually renders him ineffective as a blocker in the pass game. There were so many instances where guys just flat out ran him over, and he tried to cut guys and they would just jump over him. He just was lost out there as a pass protector. There were a lot of times where he'd be looking around for somebody to block, and he just didn't really know what he was back there doing. And some of that is just the offense that he played in. There wasn't a lot of times where he actually stayed in to block. Most times it was play action fake, so he would carry out the fake. He wouldn't block anybody. He would actually be out on the route. And I think 60% of the time he was out on the route when it was a pass play. The other, 20% of the time it was a play action fake. He's carrying out his fake. And then you got 20%, the last 20%, he's in for pass protection. So he didn't do it as much as you would like him to, but when he did, it was not good at all. That's something he's going to have to work to get better at, especially if you want to be a premier third down back. Can't have tendencies in this league, and if you can't block and I see you in the game, well, I know you're throwing the football and you're going to be in the game as a receiver, not to stay in and block. So he's going to have to work on his pass pro because it is lacking right now. Lacks top end speed. I already mentioned the 4.6 40 at the combine, and again, he could improve upon that time at his pro day. Maybe he already has. Either way, the tape doesn't lie. He didn't have breakaway speed. He's not hitting home runs. He's not running away from defenders. That's not a part of his game. So that's not something that's going to scare defenses, but he can make things happen with his quick movements. There's a lot of subtleties to his game. He can make guys miss and defenders miss out in space. I've already talked about that. So he can still turn in a 47-yard touchdown run, a 62-yard touchdown run, just by making guys miss. But if it's a foot race, he's not going to win that most likely because he doesn't have breakaway speed. But to me, that doesn't diminish who this guy is as a football player. It just means he's not going to have 77-yard touchdown runs unless there's no one back there to catch him. If there's a foot race that breaks out, he is not going to win it. Will fumble the football. And to me, this is the biggest problem I have with Ameer Abdullah. He's gotten better. This was a really, really big problem early on. His first 3 seasons at Nebraska, 15 fumbles over his first 3 seasons. Talking about 5 fumbles a season, that cannot happen. Then in his last season, he got with a coach. His coach said, we're not tucking the football, we're locking it up. He said, it's locked in the back, it's locked in the front, keep the football locked. Lock it up, lock it up. So he now locked the football up. 4 fumbles in 2014. Now, you say to yourself, 4 fumbles, that's still a lot of fumbles. But, that's less than 5, right? So there's an improvement, I guess. That's a problem, okay? I laugh, I joke, I kid, but that's a problem. And if you're a team out there, that's something that he's got to clean up. But we've seen guys get better at protecting the football. Remember Tiki Barber? Need I say more? I mean, from the start of his career to the end of his career, there was a drastic change in him not fumbling the football. And so that's something that can be taught. He can get better at that, but that's definitely something he's got to clean up if he wants to stay on the field. There's nothing worse than a running back that can't protect the football. That guy that can't protect the football can't stay on the field. And so that's Ameer Abdullah in a nutshell, and that's his NFL Draft Prospects 101 breakdown. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down anything and everything in the National Football League. I see Ameer Abdullah and a guy like Tevin Coleman and potentially the next back that I'm going to discuss, all going in the first 3 rounds of the draft. None of these guys that I've just talked about, whether it's Coleman or Abdullah, are going to go in the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised to see either one of these guys come off the board in the second round. They will definitely not be around come the end of the 3rd round, that is for certain. So guys like these, they're commodities that teams really look at and say, hey, we can use a guy like this on our football team. I don't expect Ameer Abdullah to last past the 2nd round. I'll see you next time. There's plenty more where that came from. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you want more Louie T, be sure to follow me on Twitter at In The Lab Room, or you can like the Facebook page at In The Lab Room. That's In The Lab Room on Facebook and at In The Lab Room on Twitter. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so.